Welcome to Superstitions and Traditions. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Carol.
And this is our podcast about all the weird things in history. Nonsense.
Bizarre.
Lots of nonsense happened back in the day.
Yes, it did.
Unlike now.
Yeah, because there's no nonsense
none.
today.
None. Everything we do makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm. If you say. You don't say?
That was a lie.
It was a lie. Why do you lie?
I don't know.
What's wrong with you?
I don't. We've been trying to figure that out for 41 years, and nobody has.
You're such a baby.
Come up with an.
Such a youngster.
I'm a
little
youngster.
Bitty baby. You are.
With my 4 decades of life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because I have 5.
Oh.
Yeah.
That whole 10 years makes a difference.
It does.
Okay.
Anyway, what do we got?
What do we got?
What's going
today,
on? Mm-hmm.
Today is the first day of our new segment called Point of View Historical Edition.
I can't wait.
I know.
Let's hear it. What's it about? I mean, I get point of view, but
today we are going to see live from the point of view of a woman at the Magdalene Laundry.
Oh my. Okay.
All right.
All right.
You want me to jump in?
Just do it.
Okay. Unwed pregnant women in the 18th, 19th, and early 20th centuries were considered immoral. They, with their families, were ostracized by the community.
Yes.
And men were allowed by law to neglect children that they fathered out of wedlock. They weren't held responsible for them at all.
Awful.
It was all on the mother.
Mm-hmm.
It was assumed the woman was afflicted with a moral depravity.
Is that like insanity? She's afflicted?
I guess.
Okay.
It was also assumed that her child would be as well and could infect the community with their wickedness.
Oh, no.
Families had no choice but to send their unwed daughters away if they were pregnant. So, just had to go somewhere. But not to worry, because Ireland came up with a solution. The state of Ireland, as well as churches, offered a solution for these morally depraved women.
Sounds outstanding. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's hear it.
They were the Magdalene Laundries. The purpose,
they named Magdalene after our lady
Mary
in the
Magdalene,
Bible.
Yes.
Okay. Well, not Our Lady. That's Mother Mary, but Mary Magdalene.
Yeah, they are named after Mary Magdalene.
Okay.
Fallen women were offered a home. Not only unwed pregnant women, but fallen women.
What does one have to do to be a fallen woman?
A sex worker.
Okay.
Yeah, they were fallen women.
Well, okay. All right.
Also, troublemaker in general, just unruly girls with opinions and things like that.
Oh, things like that. Okay.
Were sent here, and sometimes orphans.
Oh.
So on the first day, when they arrived, they were given a new name.
Oh.
And only a first name, no last name.
Okay.
No family
Why?
name. They had no family anymore. They were bad and nobody wanted them.
Oh.
I guess.
Okay.
They were told that they had to atone for their sins.
Okay.
And were forced to work 10-hour days, 6 days a week. They were also...
That's how you atone.
Yes.
Is work.
Yes. Laundry. They did laundry for businesses and families of the township or town or parish or whatever of the laundry. And it was symbolic because doing laundry, cleaning, purifying things was what was happening to their souls while they did this hard labor for 10 hours a day.
Okay.
They were also forced to do needlework and seamstress work, and on occasion were like farmed out as indentured servants to.
Okay. So what are we being farmed out for?
Not that.
Okay.
However, that is one of the ways you ended up in the laundry was you worked as a servant for homes and were often at the mercy of the master of the home, who your job was oftentimes more than just work. So,
yes.
And it didn't matter whether the sex was consensual or not.
Of course. Because you have no say.
Right. It was always the woman's fault, too. So,
curse you for being too sexy for me to say no to you. That's awful.
Yeah.
Awful.
They were also forced to scrub the asylum from top to bottom.
Okay.
On their hands and knees to clean the floors all day, every day. They weren't allowed to speak to each other. They weren't allowed to leave. And after the babies were born, they were barely allowed to see them. They were expected to feed them, to nurse them, until a suitable home was found for the baby. And then they would just go to their assigned baby feeding station or whatever to find out their baby was gone.
Oh, no.
And had been adopted out. Or died. Some were fortunate, and after usually 2 years were allowed to return home. Their families would take them back.
Okay.
Some spent the rest of their lives in the laundry.
They probably didn't live to be very old.
No. Many died there, and many were left there permanently. There was little food.
Of course.
Little heat on cold days. They were crowded in the dormitories. They were, if they died at the laundry, they were buried in an unmarked grave outside of the laundry. Their letters to their families were monitored. They were not allowed to tell anybody how bad it was there or report life there basically at all. Their diets consisted of watered in bread. Most often, they would be beaten or locked in solitary confinement if they got out of line, or they would have their meals withheld. There were also instances of them being locked outside in the cold for days at a time as punishment.
Who ran these?
Churches.
Naturally.
Churches ran these. So the first one opened in 1767 in Dublin. It was opened by a philanthropist. The idea behind it was good. It was this is a problem, here's a solution. They were kept there for 2 years. Their babies were found good homes. It was designed specifically for Protestant women because this is at a time where, there was a big hoopla around religion. And then the Catholic Church opened some as well. They were everywhere. They started in Ireland and Dublin and spread all over England. There were some in the U.S. When they discussed the Magdalene Laundries, it primarily was run by nuns. What brought this to light was in the early 2000s, there was a laundry in Ireland that had like extra lands. The laundry was closed. They opened, when they talk about the Magdalene Laundries, specifically with all of the hoopla around it, and those started in 1922 and closed in 1996.
Oh, wow. That recent.
Yes.
Damn.
So they had this laundry in Donnybrook, and the church was selling land around it.
So they found some
convent. Well, yeah, the convent was in disrepair. They didn't have the finances to keep it, to do the upkeep. There wasn't enough nuns living in it to require all the land and the upkeep. So they were selling off land. The land they were selling off, they knew was graves. Oh. They had a record of 100 and some odd people, women, being buried there. They started excavating to move these graves, discovered it is just a mass grave, and there were 30 extra bodies in it that had no record of anything. So they get to digging around in these laundries and start interviewing women who had lived there and hear horror stories.
I can't even imagine.
There was a town in Tuam, Ireland. In it, there was a septic tank at this home, and in the septic tank, they found 796 remains of babies.
Oh, God.
So that is still an ongoing investigation, trying to find out what happened to these babies and why so many of them had died. Between 22 and 96, it's estimated about 10,000 women went through these homes, and 6,000 babies were born.
Oh, my goodness.
There have been, since the discovery of the first one, several mass graves with no records of deaths to justify the number of bodies found in them.
Oh, my good Lord.
There are still women who lived in these homes. I mean, obviously, the last one closed in October of 96, so... but they are now able to tell their story and what happened there, and it is under investigation still. The Catholic Church has acknowledged it. Ireland has acknowledged it because they were also state funded.
Right.
Or whatever they call state funding there. And it's just sad. It's horrible. It's sad.
I don't even know what to say.
I've said everything I need to say. Because I wrote mine down.
Yeah. And I'm supposed to come up with the things.
Yeah.
But it's so shocking and so awful and so horrible and not indicative of what we expect from religion. These are just evil people who were put in positions of power and decided they were holier than thou and decided to torture these people.
You know, and I think it started out maybe kind of like baby farming. Like, there was good intent behind it.
Yeah.
And then when in times like this, when a woman did end up pregnant out of wedlock, she disappeared. She went to visit family or, and then came back. Right as rain, everything good. I don't think they realized how many.
Yeah.
When they started this, it was, there are these fallen women or, and that was the original one. The one in 1767 was started specifically for fallen women. They would go to brothels and say, come spend 2 years with us. Let us teach you something, a trade. They learned laundry, seamstress, other skills like that, housekeeping, and then they helped them find jobs.
Right.
That didn't involve sex work.
No.
And then it kind of morphed into, well, now this one's pregnant, or there were instances of girls reporting rape to clergy or police or their parents, and before they knew even if they were pregnant, they were sent here.
Sure.
Just in case. Because the girl had to carry the stigma.
Yes.
With it. And when there was no punishment for that, there was no responsibility for the child. It was just sad.
Yep. And vile in every
I think it
sense of
started out with good intention.
Sure, like so
And
many
then it
things
was
do.
just overwhelming.
And when you
So,
get, the wrong class of people being in charge of whoever.
right. I think they just ended up with all of these girls, and then it was, well, these parents died, and here's these 5 children, and there's not enough care for them, and
Right.
let's stick them here so they'll learn something and be able to support themselves in adulthood.
Yeah, and somebody thought that would be a good idea,
Right.
and it is a good idea.
In theory,
Yeah, I mean until you have
until you're overwhelmed.
Well, yeah, and until you have people who are just morally reprehensible,
Right.
coming in. And
You
are there
wouldn't expect-
investigations going on at these other?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there are still currently investigations going on. You wouldn't expect nuns to be.
But you would. I would.
You would?
I would.
I mean, I'm not Catholic. I've never even met a nun.
I didn't grow up Catholic, but yeah, I don't want to trash the whole. I do know, did know several nuns. My ex-husband had an aunt who was a nun, and she was very kind, and she did a lot. But I wouldn't say many of them are nice. They are hard.
Well, I mean, that would make sense too.
Mm-hmm.
The life they
Chose.
yeah. I mean, you chose that. Why be upset about it?
Well, because you're supposed to be better, because, God is disappointed in you, and God's not. It's, some of these people who think they speak for God shouldn't.
I mean, that's true in every religion. In every denomination. There are people all over
Who think that they, they've got God's ear more than someone else does.
Right.
And they don't.
I mean, the Bible even warns you about
Yeah.
the lion in sheep's clothing and false prophets several times. So,
Yep.
but it was just sad.
And that they could, throw a stigma on, on a child that had nothing to do with any of this going on.
Right.
And maybe, I'm sure a lot of the women were innocent victims, and to blame them and to make their lives hard simply because it made you feel good.
Right. Right. I don't know.
It's deplorable.
Put the bad people in charge of things like that.
Yes, but you don't usually know they're bad until.
Well,
something
and like in
this.
this case, you don't know they're bad until it is done and over. And
they're
I mean,
dead
they existed for over 230 years. And like the horror stories from every generation coming from these, like it wasn't just a couple of bad people. It was 2 centuries worth of.
Well, and that's the thing, is that, you feel good that you get to, inflict this on people because you're powerful. Because they're wrong and you're right. Look at me, I'm right.
I guess. I don't know. I don't want to be that right.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Yeah, that is my information about the Magdalene homes. There were also, on occasion, like they would shave their heads. Which was a French Revolution kind of thing too. Was
like the Warsaw Ghetto. They shaved women's head. It's supposed to be a humiliation tactic.
Right. But yeah. So anyway, that is the Magdalene Laundries. You can read survivor stories.
I'm going to have to.
Read. I don't know how many. I read some from women that went because they were pregnant. I read probably more from girls who spent decades there because they were raped as children. And there were several of them who reported the assault
Mm-hmm.
and were sent there just in case they ended up pregnant and
Right.
left there. Like, some of them weren't even pregnant. Some of them were orphans. I read the account of one woman who was dropped off there when she was 7, just lost her parents.
Oh.
And the first thing they say is, you're not who you are anymore. This is your name, and you don't have a family, and you don't have a last name. And I just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Some got out and some didn't. Some died young in there, and some lived for 20, 30 years in the laundry.
Disgusting.
Yep.
Evil.
Yep. All right. Well, oh, there's a sad story.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
But knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. So come back in a couple of days for more knowledge when we introduce our second new segment called Product Review Historical Edition, where we are going to talk about funerary masks.
Yuck. I mean, yay. Interesting.
I think they're cool. So.
Well, yeah, but...
But I think the whole idea of it is neat. So, all right. Thanks for watching. Leave us a like or a comment. Let us know your thoughts. Don't put anybody in a laundry.
No, don't do it.
Don't do that.
Don't go.
That's not nice. And don't go yourself.
And don't go.
All right. Thank you for watching. She loves you.
I do.
I have a fondness.
She does.